Hello again everyone, this is P. Harper from Supremacy.com and welcome back to another review. Today I will be looking at Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. I love Batman Beyond. I loved the animated series and I absolutely love the character of Terry McGinnis. He's so different to Bruce Wayne as Batman, but I feel it is for the better. He's a bit of a smartass, he's a little bit mischievous, but at the same time he is incredibly clever, he's very instinctive, and he knows when push comes to shove, he will do more than shove back. And when it comes to this movie, the best way to experience it is to let go of any sort of preconceived notions you may have about the Batman universe. Because by this point, Batman Beyond takes place 35 years in the future. And that enough is to inform you that you are definitely not watching a Batman animated series type of thing. In some regards, all bets are off in this movie, and that is the best way to describe it. So, without giving away too much of the plot, here we go. So Return of the Joker takes place 35 years in the future, of which the Joker has been sort of, inactive for a while. He's disappeared. But in recent years, he has resurfaced, as well as a bunch of criminal gangs who have called themselves the Jokers. And by this point, a couple of really significant things have happened to Bruce Wayne, as well as some of his allies. Without giving too much away, let's just say that Bruce Wayne cannot be Batman. Alright, so something has happened here, and he is now looking at Terry McGinnis as his successor. But even though Terry is definitely on the road to success, Bruce still does not see him as the proper mantle of Batman. So Terry has to prove himself by not only establishing his own personality as Batman, but also contending with the Jokers, because the Jokers have been causing a lot of significant difficulty. So what I really like about this movie is that even though it takes place in the future and there is a sense of the new generation taking place, it doesn't completely let go of the past. And to me, that's a really sort of nice love letter to how life works. Even though, we have our previous generations, but they also mould the future generations. So in this case, we have the cast as follows. Kevin Conroy returns as Batman, awesome. Mark Hamill returns as the Joker, as well as another character known as Jordan Price. And Jordan Price is a fascinating role in this movie because there is a huge sense as to whether or not the Joker is this character or it's a completely different individual, altogether. Really cool. Angie Harmon voices the Commissioner, Barbara Gordon, because by this point, Jim Gordon has, retired and has passed away, and Barbara has taken up his mantle. So that's another sort of example of the future generation stepping into the shoes of the past generation. And Dean Stockwell voices Tim Drake, who used to be Robin, as well as Will Friedle, who voices Terry McGinnis. And Will Friedle will go on to voice Terry in the animated series, and I highly recommend that you watch the Batman Beyond series, because even though by appearances it just looks like a weak spin-off of the Batman animated series back in the 1990s, this is still a really good show. It's got some great storylines, fantastic characterizations, and Terry McGinnis is just so likable. So, a couple of really huge things have happened in this movie, as I mentioned. For one thing, Bruce Wayne is no longer Batman, okay? He's old, he's retired, and he's just living the rest of his life in relative peace. But then something huge happens, and he has to rely on Terry to not only sort of save the city of Gotham, but also to prove to him that the legacy of Batman lives on. And that's what this movie is all about. It's all about legacy and just looking to the future as well as looking back in the past and respecting both in the present. What's really hard about talking about this movie is that a lot of it does rely on the plot. It's a very sort of plot-driven film. And the director, Kurt Gader, who I have never heard of, by the way, he's able to sort of, remain faithful to the work done by, Bruce Timm and Paul Dini in the original series, but also add in some brand new elements into this movie, as well as the show. So the writers are Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, and Glenn Murakami. I hope I pronounced that right. And look, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm are two of the stalwart figures of the animated series. They know how to write compelling and fascinating storylines, as well as some great characters. And speaking of returning characters, you have Arlene Sorkin come back as Harley Quinn. And even though Harley may not necessarily be a huge part of this movie, there's definitely a sense of affection in this film for its previous characters, because originally Harley was going to be killed off, and Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, who loved the character of Harley, they didn't want her to die so unceremoniously. They wanted the character to be respected, just like the other characters in this movie is. And yeah, it's a very short role, but Arlene Sorkin, she's great. Oh, another really fascinating casting element here. Tara Strong voices Batgirl, you know, young Barbara Gordon. And as some of you may be aware, Tara Strong would voice Harley Quinn in the computer games, the video games of the Batman series. Yeah, it's really strange how these coincidences take place, huh? And yeah, it's damn it, I really wish I could talk to you more about the plot about this movie, but this is something you need to watch for yourself, because even though Batman Beyond may not necessarily be the definitive animated series, it's still one of the best ones out there, because it values characters over, you know, just mere substance. It's a beautiful marriage between the past and the future, and yeah, I think that this film will pleasantly surprise you. What really matters here is to whether or not you are willing to accept what's going on in this movie as well as its characters. But I defy anybody to say that Terry McGinnis is not a compelling individual. He's really one of the best creations to be in DC Comics, and that Batsuit of his, that is one of my favorites. It's just, it makes the character look like a demon. It really does look like he's this figure of fear, and he is what the criminals see, you know, in the night. And, you know, by the time the sun rises, that's when they breathe a sigh of relief. And yeah, this film will no doubt probably polarize the audience, but that is one of the best parts about it. It really does make you think. It isn't just a thankless, you know, sort of offshot of a popular property. It's got its own stories going. It has its own universe, and that to me is what really does deliver to you a continuation of the Batman series. There's nothing worse than just like beating the old horse, and that's what this film does. It isn't afraid to step outside the established comfort zone and give you something else. And yeah, Batman Beyond Return of the Joker is one of the better DC animated movies out there, and I know I've said that a couple of times about the other DC movies I've said, but it's true. And that is because it shows no fear of, you know, doing something different with itself and with the other characters. It's a sweet and respectable type of animated movie, but it doesn't rest on the laurels that have been established prior. So in saying that, I highly recommend this movie, especially if you are not only a Batman fan, but you are sort of like looking to see what would become of the Batman franchise, you know? And in saying that, I give this movie a 4 out of 5. Yeah, I know it's a high rating, but as I said, the brilliance of this film does come from the plot, as well as the themes at work here. You really can't get any more sort of, you know, out of the comfort zone than this, and I really have to applaud Kurt Gader, Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, and Glenn Murakami for taking those steps, because this would have been an incredibly risky franchise, but that risk paid off because they weren't afraid to, you know, not insult the audience's intelligence by just remaining in the same continuity as the animated series did. So yeah, that was Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, and I can't stress enough that you really should go into this movie without having any other preconceived notions of how you want your Batman to be, because there's no worse thing than to, you know, automatically automatically dismiss a movie just because you don't like the initial premise. That's not the way to think. So yeah, that was my review of Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. I highly recommend you seeing it, and thank you once again for listening to me ramble. Appreciate it. Thanks guys, take care of yourselves and each other, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.